Good morning. It's Thursday, August 3rd. As much as I don't like talking about Donald Trump and I try to avoid him at all costs, I cannot always avoid him. And I can't avoid him today either because he has been indicted for the third time. And he has declared that this indictment is the act of some Nazis. Well, it's far from us in the United States acting like Nazis, because if we were Nazis, Donald Trump would not be going to trial. He would be going to a camp, a concentration camp. And from there he would either be going into the furnace or into the gas chamber after he had done some hard labor. So his declaration that this country is acting as a Nazi nation is totally off base and totally ridiculous. He can declare his innocence in many ways, but not to call the United States a Nazi nation. Anyhow, he is facing many consequences for his terrible actions. And this third indictment is the most serious one of all. And it's not one with 30 or 40 charges. They're just basically 4 items that he has been charged with. But before I get to those 4 items, let me remind you that everything about this president right now is historic. Trump became the first president to be arrested when he was charged with campaign finance-related offenses by the Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg. He became the first president to face federal charges when the special prosecutor, Jack Smith, levied almost 40 items of his own. 40 different charges related to wildly mishandling classified documents. So the third time he's indicted now. This is not the third time as the charm. The charges that he faces in his latest indictment are far more serious and far more important. Donald Trump attempted to overturn a legitimate election. And in order to do that, he attacked the foundation of American democracy. And he did that literally and figuratively. And he has continued to do that since he's been out of office. He has not stepped back and become a quiet citizen. No, he's out there running to take over this country again. And this country is in such bad shape that he's leading the pack of Republicans who are getting ready to go to the primaries. And he's leading the pack not by a minuscule margin, but by a huge margin. And I've said the other day there's no reason to even have a primary, he's so far ahead. But now, getting back to these charges, now American democracy is striking back at him. And most importantly, they are sending a message to those who might act like him in the future. But I think America's had enough of Donald Trump, and I am pretty sure that a person like him won't become president for a long time, if ever again. But I can't swear to that because there are still 40 million people in this country that are on his side. Now, it's hard to overstate how important and how damning this third indictment is. It gets straight to the point. Trump is charged with 4 counts. Conspiracy to defraud the United States. Conspiracy to obstruct an official proceeding. Obstruction of an official proceeding. And witness tampering. But at the heart of these descriptions are extraordinary, unlawful, and authoritarian actions. That's a mouthful. Authoritarian actions. The conspiracy Trump is charged with is one that was aimed at undermining the bedrock of American democracy. Overturn the legitimate result of the 2020 election. Now, I'm sure that all of us have watched his actions and watched what he had attempted to do. And most of us were probably glued to the TV set on January 6th. We watched as congressmen and senators ran for their lives through the halls of the Capitol. We watched as the windows were broken and shots were fired and policemen were killed and a woman was killed jumping through the windows. We watched all of that chaos at a time when this nation was coming together to bring a new person to lead us. And the Vice President Pence being called upon, being told that he had the right to withhold his actions on that particular day, that he did not have to declare President Biden the winner. And what's even worse in this entire scene, beyond the actions of Donald Trump, were the many of his fellow lawmen, men like Ted Cruz and Lindsey Graham, who stood by his side and agreed with him and made speeches and also condemned Vice President Pence for going to do the correct thing and to declare the election count correct, and thereby telling the nation that Joe Biden was our next president. It was a scene that most of us will never forget if we saw it live, even if we saw it afterward, even if we weren't watching it live. We will never forget those images of the mob scene at the steps of the Capitol and the windows being broken and the young man running around with the antlers, one of the oath takers or one of the Proud Boys. And the people inside who were carrying on and carrying flagpoles like spears and assorted other items that could be viewed as weapons. No, we won't forget that. And Donald Trump should not forget that. And that he should not forget that he was the primary cause of all of these events. And the one thing that scares me about the whole thing is not that he's been indicted many times. It's that we are going to have a major problem getting 12 people together who all agree on a verdict. And it would be a great shanda if Donald Trump is not convicted of these crimes. But we have to wait and see what's going to happen as American justice marches down one of the roughest roads in its history. The indictment and the conviction of a former president. Not a historical first that we want to be proud of. So I leave you with that presidential mess this morning. Have a great day. Bye.